Imagine a country where every morning people wake up not to the sound of alarm clocks, but to the noise of air raid sirens. Where young men wear military uniforms instead of work clothes. Where families pack their bags not for vacation, but to flee from war. Welcome to Ukraine, Europe's largest country that has been living an endless nightmare for 10 years. With its 603,000 square kilometers and 37 million inhabitants, Ukraine is not just a nation at war. It is a people who have transformed suffering into resistance. The history of this land is written in blood. Mongol invasions in the Middle Ages, joint attacks from Russia, Poland, and the Ottoman Empire, the Soviet era, the Chernobyl disaster of 1986. In 1991, finally independence. But in 2014, the current hell began. What makes Ukraine so precious is not just its historic cities, but literally the ground beneath its feet. It possesses some of the most fertile land in Europe, 25% of the world's Chernozem, the most fertile soil that exists. During World War II, the Nazis were so obsessed with this wealth that they loaded entire wagons of Ukrainian soil to take it to Germany. The country also holds 2.5 billion tons of manganese ore reserves and 7% of the world's iron ore reserves. While Kyiv and Odessa remain dangerous zones, there is one city that has kept its soul alive, Lviv. Located in the west of the country, near the Polish border, this city of 1 million inhabitants was the first Ukrainian city to enter the list of the 100 best European cities. Before the war, it welcomed up to 5 million visitors during summer. Today, it is a refuge for those who cannot or will not abandon their homeland. Mornings in Lviv begin with temperatures oscillating between 20 degrees during the day and 10 in the evening. While the rest of the world prepares for the beach, here people still wear jackets and coats. The atmosphere is gloomy, almost spectral. At bus stops, you mainly see elderly people and women with adult children, all ready to leave for safer countries. Occasionally, someone in military uniform passes by, heading toward the eastern front lines. War has devastated the economy. Begging children approach, asking for coins. Homeless people sleep at stops and in parks. Yet, there are those who remain. At dawn, these people board yellow trams or get in their cars and head to work. Despite everything, Lviv maintains an active transport system. Towards midday, the city awakens. Young people fill the squares as if life were normal. Shops raise their shutters, like that wine shop where groups of young people chat on the sidewalk despite the cloudy sky. Tourists are rare. Most of the people you see are locals. The historic bazaar, which normally pulses with life all year round, is now frequented mainly by residents. The good news is that Lviv has suffered the least physical damage from the war. Its Eastern European architecture remains intact. Colorful historic buildings stand side by side, creating a fascinating atmosphere. Modifying the exterior of these buildings is illegal due to their historical value, while the interiors house shops and residences. Municipal workers keep everything clean. Market streets and parks are impeccable. In parks, Ukrainian adults and elderly gather to play chess, a common scene in many Eastern European countries. Young men in their 20s put on uniforms to defend their country and will soon leave for the front. Women sitting in cafes hope that husbands and brothers will return home safe and sound. Everyone waits and hopes the war will end soon. Even if physically present, they are mentally distracted, worried about the future and their loved ones, longing for normal life. Sirens can sound during the day, causing anxiety. Restrictions on electricity and water are imposed. The government constantly warns Lviv residents to prepare for drone attacks. Curfews can disrupt daily life. Among the streets of Lviv, behind forced smiles and apparent normalcy, lies a deep loneliness that affects thousands of Ukrainian women. In downtown cafes, women in their 20s and 30s meet to talk about interrupted dreams and an uncertain future. Their eyes tell stories that words cannot express. The fear of never seeing again the boyfriend who left for the front, the anguish of those who have already received that phone call no woman should ever receive. Before the war, I thought that at 25 I would be married with children, confides Oksana. a young teacher who now lives alone in her small apartment. Like her, thousands of Ukrainian women have seen their life projects shattered. Men their age are at the front, older ones are dead or wounded, younger ones are preparing to leave. Statistics speak clearly. In some cities in eastern Ukraine, the ratio between women and young men has become 3-to-1. In Lviv's parks, it's common to see groups of women pushing empty strollers, playing with friends' children as if they were their own. They dream of a house with a garden, a large family, quiet Sundays without the sound of sirens. Many have signed up on international dating apps, not to flee the country, but hoping to rebuild elsewhere that normalcy that war has stolen from them. "We don't want to be heroes," says Irina, 28 years old. "We just want to be happy mothers and wives." War has not only destroyed buildings and roads, it has shattered dreams and left a generation of women wondering if they will ever see times of peace and love again. Economically, those working in the service sector cannot earn enough. The city has welcomed many migrants, making decent rentals difficult to find. Authorities are constantly expanding the city. Construction workers and new modern buildings are visible everywhere. Buildings are mostly over 5 stories high, with balconies enclosed as additional living space. Monthly rents for new apartments start around €500 up to €1,000. Most new buildings are designed by global construction leaders with apartments between 60 and 90 square meters, usually 2 rooms. Since the war began, nightlife in Lviv has almost disappeared. Entertainment clubs have closed. Monthly income per person is less than €500. On the second day, the weather was sunnier and warmer. The streets were calm and quiet, with most vehicles no older than 15 years. Besides trams, yellow public buses operate in the city, stopping every half hour. Locals recommend ride-hailing services like Uber rather than renting cars due to heavy traffic and parking scarcity caused by recent immigration. Taking advantage of nice weather, young women often dress elegantly and take photos in the city center. Despite the war, people remain motivated. Fountains in the center are popular gathering spots for families with children who spend the day playing and cooling off. Regarding physical features, most Ukrainians have black hair and fair skin. Many have blue eyes. Others have darker skin and brown eyes. Hair is usually straight or wavy. Their appearance varies, but generally Ukrainians are slim, similar to people in Moscow. These two nations, Ukraine and Russia, are similar physically and culturally. Ukrainians often speak Russian, especially near Poland. Russian and Ukrainian languages share many idioms. Both countries are Christian Orthodox, although Russians tend to be less religious. Both peoples are extremely nationalistic. Without political divisions, they would have few direct issues. The conflict arises from politicians' policies. Some extreme Russian nationalists deny Ukraine's existence, which deeply angers Ukrainians. Russians favor authoritarian government under a single leader, while Ukrainians lean toward democracy and freedom. These countries differ significantly in government, as Ukrainians hold more Western and liberal values. Ukrainians are hardworking and practical daily, but emotional about future dreams. They can be cold toward strangers, but kind to family and friends. They dislike arrogance and are sarcastic toward those in power. Their current president was once a comedian before becoming Ukraine's president. If you're considering visiting Ukraine, I recommend avoiding politics and war when talking to people. Avoid expressing any support for Russia and don't mention Russians. People generally don't want to engage in discussions about political and military events. They prefer to focus on topics that bring joy. Let me know in the comments from which city you're watching the video, if you liked it and what you think of this beautiful country. Click one of the suggested videos on the screen to discover new fantastic places and their curiosities. Bye.